Welcome back to your favorite inorganic tutor YouTube channel. Today is another episode. We want to look at how we can deal with some economic questions, right? But then before I begin, let me give a very big shout out to Mr. Rad, Mr. Enoch, and then my cameraman, Mohammed. All right. So this is the question on the board, and we want to look at how we can determine the equilibrium price of this quantity of goods and their prices at the um, equilibrium level, right? And also the relationship between the good X and the good Y, right? And this the independent commodities, the X and the Y, right? So this is the commodity X, the quantity demanded, the commodity Y, the quantity demanded, and the quantity supplied for X and Y respectively, right? So now let's look at how we can tackle this particular problem, right? So please, you can write the question down because I'll be cleaning it, right? And you can give a try as well. You can pause the video and give it a try, right? So now, you know that at equilibrium, quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied, right? So we have to note that for us to be able to find the quantity demanded or the quantity supplied, we have to know that this at equilibrium, the quantity demanded for X should be equal to the quantity demanded, the quantity supplied for X as well. And that works for the same quantity demanded for Y, and then quantity demanded supplied for Y should be equal, right? So here at the equilibrium, right, we know that quantity demanded, which is the QD, X should be equal to the quantity supplied, which is the QX. This should be equal, and also the quantity demanded at the Y, commodity Y, should be equal to the quantity supplied at the commodity Y, right? So if this is true, then we can equate the equations and find the respective commodities, right? So here we have 15 minus px plus 2py, and that should be equal to the quantity supplied at the x, right? At the commodity x, right? So we have this equation, we can simplify it, right? So let's send this to this side and bring this here, right? So we have 15 plus 2 py should be equal to minus 7 plus px, right? Plus another px, right? So we can still bring the minus 7 here, and we have 15 plus 7 should be equal to 2px, ps plus ps, which is 2ps, right? So here, when we add these two, then we are going to have 22 plus 2py, and that should be equal to 2px. So we have to group it very well so that our solving won't be a problem. So let's send this to this side so that we maintain the constant at this side. So we have 2px minus 2py, and that should be equal to 22. And we form our first equation, right? So we can also equate, as shown over here, the qdy, which is this 9 plus px minus py, that should be equal to the quantity supplied at commodity y, right? So if this is true, then let's simplify them and bring the same goods to one side. So this goes here, and we have 9 plus px should be equal to py plus 4 py minus 4, right? So we have 9. We are bringing the minus 4 here to have plus 4 plus px should be equal to 1 py plus 4 py, and that gives us 5 py, right? So here we can still have the constant at this side and send this here, right? Right. So we have that is 13 should be equal to 5 py minus px. So we can still arrange this well, and we have 5 py minus px should be equal to 13, and that gives us equation 2, right? So now we have equation 1 and equation 2. Now we can go ahead and solve them simultaneously, whether by substitution or elimination, and then we can get our value for the p, right? So let me clean from this part. Let me clean from this part and write the equations down for you. 2px minus 2py should be equal to 22, and that is our first equation. Our second equation is this. Should be equal to 13, and that is the second equation. So now I can clean this. Right. So this, we want to use what we call the method of elimination. That will make our work very easy, but you can also try it with the method of substitution, right? So here, if you are to use the method of elimination, it means that we have to make sure that either of the variables have the same coefficient, right? So here, we have 2 here as 2px, and we have minus px here. So we want to make sure that these px have the same coefficient, right? So that we can eliminate the ps out and find the py. So let's multiply the equation 2 by 2, right? So we have equation 2 times 2, right? So we have 5, 2 times the whole of equation 2, 2 times the whole of equation 2, right? So we have 10 py minus 2px should be equal to 26, and that becomes equation 3. So now we have same coefficient of px on equation 3 and the same coefficient on ps in equation 1 as well. So we can eliminate the px and then find the value for py, right? So what we have to do is that we have to add equation 1 and equation 3, right? To make sure that when this add up, we can eliminate the px. So adding equation 3 and 1, we have 10 py minus 2px. That should be equal to 26. And then the equation 1. So let's bring the minus 2py first. Then plus 2px. And that is equal to 22. Right. So when you add this plus 10 plus minus 2, and that gives us 8 py. And then 2px plus 2px, and that gives us 0, right? 0 is equal to 26 plus 22, right? And that gives us 48, right? So now we can find the value of py. So 8py should be equal to 48. So we divide by 8, and then we have py is equal to 48 divided by 8, right? And that is equal to 6, right? So since we have the py to be 6, we can put it in any of the equations, either equation 3 or equation 1, and then we can find the value for px, right? So now I can clean this. So please, you can write it down. Right. So I have py to be 6. So here, if py is equal to 6, then px, we are putting py into this equation to have px. So 2px minus 2 into 6 should be equal to 22. Right, so we have 2px minus 12 should be equal to 22. Here, 2px should be equal to 22 plus 12. Right, so we have 2px is equal to 34. Right, so in your quest of looking for ps, we divide by 2 by 2. Right, so we have px equals 17. Right, so if ps is equal to 17 and py is equal to 17, then it means the price of good x and good y is equal to 17 and 6 respectively. So now we can go ahead and find the quantity demanded at these respective prices, right? So as we already said, quantity demanded at y is equal to quantity supplied at y. So we can put the value of px here and find the quantities. So we have qx should be equal to minus 7 plus px, which is 17. Right, so we have qx is equal to 10. Right, and then we can put um, the py2 here and find the quantity demanded at y, right? So we have 9 plus the ps, which is 17, minus py, which is 6, right? So qyd should be equal to 9 plus 17. This gives us 3 plus 17, that is 20, right? So we have quantity demanded at y to be 20, right? Here we have to find the quantity supplied at y as well. So in that case, we have minus 4 plus 4 into 6, right? So we have qyx should be equal to minus 4 plus 24, right? So we have quantity supplied at y to be 20. So as we said earlier, from here is true. Quantity supplied at y should be equal to the quantity demanded at y, and that verifies it, right? So we have qy d should be equal to qx qyx, and that is 20 units, right? And also the qx, we had already found the qx here to be 10, right? So we can find a qd, and since we have verified this, it means that qxx is equal to qsd, right? But let's verify. qs So we have QX X equals QX D, and that is 10 units as well, right? So we can see that the quantity demanded at X is equal to the quantity supplied at Y, is equal to the quantity supplied at D, right? At X, and that is equal to 10 units. And also the quantity supplied at X at Y and the quantity demanded at Y is equal to 20 units with their respective prices for 6 and 17 respectively. And then we can also say that the quantity of good X is what? 10 units, and that of Y is 20 units respectively. So that is how we go about this kind of problems. First, you have to know that at the equilibrium, the quantity demanded should be equal to the quantity supplied. So the moment you are able to locate or you are able to put out this knowledge, then the rest is your mathematics, right? Very simple. Please, when solving, you can put off the video and then try it out. Thank you very much for watching. I'll give you more alternative way of having these questions, and you know how to handle this kind of questions. Thank you. Bye.